What's going on, Blerds, nerds, and everybody in between? It's your boy Wyatt, the sensei of the syndicate, and we are here with another episode of Just BSing, where we take spectacular people in the Blerd and nerd culture, and we interview them and kind of get to know what makes them tick. So today we actually have Brandon here with us. So Brandon, what's going on, man?
What's up, y'all? Good to be here. Glad to be on the pod, man.
Man, I'm glad to have you. And so he usually doesn't show his face, but today the young elder decided he was going to grace us with his appearance. And so I'm glad to see you, man. How are you doing?
I'm well. I had to change my name for this one, but I couldn't figure out what it would be, so I just changed my name to Cliverius Nominus.
Yep. I wasn't gonna do all that. I was just gonna call you my young elder. So, but it is all good, man. I'm glad to see you guys. And
yes. And look, it's a special episode. I didn't realize we were getting a face reveal too. This is
Oh, I mean, they know what I look like. It's just very rare that I have my camera on because I'm usually got my 4 children running around and acting crazy behind me and things. So I just kind of, and also I decided that I was gonna stop being the bad guy. I'm gonna do like The Rock did and kind of switch it over because we got into a situation one time. I don't want to talk about it yet, but
we'll talk about it. But with Brandon, okay. I think that when we get to know you, we'll be able to tell you, and it's a funny story. Let's just know that you know, sometimes you back the wrong horse, and sometimes you got to,
Let me tell you something. I'm not done beating that horse. I never got my chance to beat it, but
well, we'll get to that. Well, Brandon, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. We wanted to do or have somebody that was on that is someone that's in the Dungeons and Dragon world, because like my dream here is to have like a black Dungeons and Dragons thing, not kind of like Key and Peele, but a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been playing D&D since like 16 or so. Always been into like, the nerd stuff. Grew up reading comic books, X-Men, Marvel, Luke Cage. It was all my jam. Fell into D&D. Girl I was dating, her dad actually played, and that's how I kind of got into the game. And so just been playing ever since. Started streaming. Check out Ink and Liar, by the way. Streamed a couple of games for them over on Twitch. Got a podcast coming out in a couple next month, actually. Stardust and Dragons, so look out for that. Just love bringing players in, especially fellow Blerds, bringing them onto the scene and everything. Because I mean, obviously D&D has kind of that I guess less so now, obviously, like with the movie coming out and everything, and D&D is kind of more mainstream now, but there is kind of that barrier to entry, with it being like, too nerdy or like cliches and stuff like that. People are kind of like have a hard time trying to get into it. So it's cool when like folks are willing to kind of give it a chance,
Yeah.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, in the beginning of your intro, you said something about a girl that you were dating. Her dad played D&D.
Yeah.
This question, I'm serious. Was the first D&D game that you played with this girl's father?
Yeah, I think it was actually.
Was she playing as well?
No.
What? So you was impressing that?
Totally came over one Friday, I think, to hang out with her. Her dad had like the group of his group of folks over there playing and everything. Like, bunch of like, late 30s, early 40s guys, like just hanging out, drinking beer, playing D&D. I'm like, what's going on in there? Sound lit, so I go creeping in, look at what's going on, and next thing I know, I'm at the table rolling dice.
What? All right.
Yeah. Dope. She was cool with it though. Like it wasn't. She wasn't very salty. It was fine.
That's dope. How many sets of dice do you have?
Sets of, not as many as you would think. I think I have like 12 or so total. Yeah. And when I first got into the game, I was doing that thing where like you get a new set of dice for every character that you create and stuff. But once I really started playing, I realized that wasn't sustainable. You find the dice that you like, and it's like these are gonna be the ones.
Cool. So, So what happened? Did you have to stop playing with the dad after, like, if you and the girl ever broke up?
Oh my gosh, we just getting into it. Are y'all about to just get to know me?
I was curious,
We
man.
just trying to get to know you.
Yeah, I was a part of that group until she and I broke up. And yeah, but it all was well though.
Did they let you transfer your stats?
My stats. Oh, the my character stayed with me. Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Brought him into a bunch of other games and stuff. You know,
I can dig it.
Yeah. But you find different groups, you find other folks to play with, and the beat goes on.
So, man, before like social media and things like that, like how did you end up playing or meeting other people to kind of find your groups and everything like that? Like, I know you kind of said you just kind of stumbled into it. Like, how afterwards was it just?
Yeah. You just kind of have to. It really is a lot of luck and a lot of just like kind of being in those spaces. A lot of like comic shops, game stores and stuff like that. Like the little Warhammer stores and stuff like that. They'll post stuff. There's a shop around here, Second and Charles. They have a little board where you can go find folks. The way I linked up with Ink and Liar is an interesting story. I actually worked with a couple of guys. I was working at Lowe's, and I just happened to hear them talking about like black dragons and and initiatives and roles and stuff like that. I'm like, I know those words. What are they talking about over there? So just kind of slide my way over like, y'all play D&D, and they were in the middle of a campaign, so I had to kind of keep bugging them a little bit until they started up something new, and then I was able to kind of jump into their shit. So
Awesome. So like with that, like you kind of jump in and like I don't know the classes, so can you kind of break down kind of some of the classes and things like that, or is just talk to a little bit about
So there's, I mean, if you've watched like any movie, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, anything kind of in that medieval sort of setting, then you probably know more than you think about D&D. Obviously there's fighters, which is like kind of your standard character class. Your sword and your shield, or you pick a weapon, run in and you fight melee. Then I guess on the opposite spectrum would be wizards, the high level magic casters, stuff like that. And that's pretty much like the two ends of the spectrum when it comes to, I guess, like play styles. And then in between there, you got your half casters like your warlocks, your paladins, then you have your clerics, your sorcerers, and they're all they all have like different flavors of magic and melee basically. You've got your rangers, which is like basically Legolas from Lord of the Rings. Let me think. Gandalf would be your wizard. Rogues, definitely got your rogues. Am I missing any? Probably.
What do you call? Are they called Goliaths? It's like the big
Goliaths.
people. They're big.
Oh yeah. Those are the now we're getting into races. Yeah, Goliaths are like the huge.
Oh, so
like,
so it's races versus class, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you pick your race, you pick your class, and
gotcha.
That gives you just a random grab bag of stats and stuff that you then help build your character.
Okay. I have a question about this group of people at Lowe's that were talking about D&D. Were they black people or white people?
White folks.
Did they have surprise when you knew what was going on?
No, actually.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Nah, not really.
Okay.
It was pretty. They were very welcoming. They were like, we play D&D, yada yada yada. Like I said, I had to kind of bug them a little bit for a few months, remind them that I still wanted to play as they finished out their campaign. But
gotcha.
Yeah, it got to the point where whenever we all had shifts together, they would kind of tell me what was going on in their games and stuff. So I kind of get like the play by play as they were playing. Yeah.
How long do campaigns usually run?
It depends. As long as everybody's willing to get together and play. Campaigns can run. The longest campaign I ran or the longest campaign I've run was for like a year. Longest campaign I've been in was Fate's End, which was one that we streamed on Ink and Lyre. That was a 2-year long campaign. I was there for most of that one. I think like 3/4 of it. And then you have something as short as like a one shot. But then there are campaigns that can go for years. Just like you just keep the story going.
Yeah. About this 2-year, you said you had one that was a year and that was 2 years long. How often were y'all meeting? Is that like y'all meet weekly, monthly?
So for Fates In, we were meeting weekly. Every Monday, we would meet and play. Yeah. So that's cool. Like over 200 episodes. Yeah, it was an epic story, man. It was wild. We had to save the world from the Seven of Severance, which was I guess they weren't the 7 deadly sins, but that's probably like the closest approximation without getting too into it, Yeah, and they were kind of so basically they served as like the horsemen of the apocalypse, like the harbingers of the end of the world and stuff. And so
Seven seals or something like that.
Yeah. And so it was a great campaign. We started at level 1, went all the way up to level 20, which for anybody who listening who actually plays knows how long that can take.
Okay.
It was great. It was an awesome game. Because I think one of the weird things about D&D is that like you never really know when the story's gonna end. I've been in games that have been fantastic, and then like a couple of players get tired of it, and so you have to switch it up. So having a group, a solid group that everybody can kind of commit to the story and commit to coming and playing on a at least semi-consistent basis is really the key to like having like really solid games and campaigns and stuff.
Okay, cool. But you mentioned something that piqued my interest. You said 7 deadly sins. So are you a big anime person as well?
I dabble. I dabble. A little sprinkling. Yeah. 7 deadly sins is one of them. I've seen obviously the OGs, DBZ, My Hero, Hunter x Hunter, Death Note.
Yes. There we go.
What about you? What do you guys watch as far as anime goes?
Ooh.
You want to go?
I can start. Okay. To answer that question, what I'll do is I'll post you the list that I have
a list
saved in I got a list in my phone of like anime that I've watched, how many times I've watched it, my ranking of it. After each time I watch it, I kind of update the ranking and things like that. Currently I'm making my way through One Piece. The sensei is that's his jam, and like I said, I was gonna watch it. It was like like a year or two ago. I was like, Wyatt, I'm gonna catch up in a year. That was 2 years ago, and I'm only at episode 650.
Have you caught up? Yeah.
No, man. I just told you where I was. 690. Yeah, I'm at like 690, man. Yeah, I took some breaks and stuff because what'll happen is you get used to watching shows and then having to take a break from it for a little while, and it's like, oh man, I wish there were more episodes. But then when you get a show that there is more episodes, you're like, I need to.
It's gonna be there. It's gonna be there. Like
on the show for a little bit, So within these 2 years, it's probably been 3 month spans where I won't watch an episode, and then I'll just get into it and take down 100 or 2 and get back at it, My favorite anime is Hunter x Hunter, though. I'm glad you said that one.
Oh yeah. I'm exposed myself a little. I haven't jumped on the One Piece train yet.
It's okay. A lot of people haven't.
Yeah, it's either people love it or hate it. Like, and the fact that it started in '99, so like, it's like going on like almost 1,100 episodes.
Yeah.
So like, if you're either caught up with it or you kind of grunted through, not seeing, like, because the animation wasn't great, but in '99. Not a whole lot of animation was great at that time anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, like as far as that's concerned, I'm not too. I do the same thing that Steven does. I just go ahead and I'd have to take breaks because like after a while you just get tired of it and you got to go ahead and find something else to watch. But I've been watching that. Like I really like My Hero. My Hero is one of my jams as well.
That is a good.
And let me think. What else did I've been watching Doctor Stone.
I gotta catch up on the new season. I'm glad you put me on that one, Wyatt.
Yeah, Doctor Stone. I'm watching that, and of course, Demon Slayer
Yes.
is coming with it. I got my wife interested in it, so now, but now she doesn't like watching like the subtitle one, so like we're having to take it like a week at a time. And but it's good for that one. And then I just finished Vinland Saga season 2, which was really good.
Okay.
It's different than season 1 though. But,
Man, whole nother world in season 1.
I started like growing crops because I was watching Vinland Saga. So I got like corn in the backyard, pumpkins, all that. I started a whole garden. It's crazy. But yeah, man, like I love doing like I love having like anime conversations. Those are really cool. What other things outside of D&D are you interested in?
Yeah, comic stuff. Huge Marvel show. I say that Marvel, DC, it really doesn't matter.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. You fit right in with all of these people. Then I wish
Yeah.
there was more syndicate here.
Yeah.
We have a whole conversation about whatever DC anime, Marvel, any of that stuff.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
That's the one that always blows my mind. How many wrestling experts there are?
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself an expert. Again, I dabble, but yeah, I haven't really been following the storylines for a while though.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, you're at least wise enough to know that there's storylines. I didn't even know there were storylines.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what I love about it. It's just it has an opportunity to grow, like and you just see who they're kind of pushing. You know how like your grandmothers used to watch soap operas and they'd be like, oh, I wonder what they're going to do with this character. It's the exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
Except for like they punch people and they throw people off of stuff.
Yeah.
But short of that, it's the exact same thing. People die and come back. People have babies with other people and cheat with other people and do things that they're not supposed to do. All of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dig it. So my question about D&D.
Uh-huh.
I love our tangents. That's good conversation, man.
I call them ADHD moments.
All day. 1000%, man. It's a superpower. So I've got a friend that I was like that I'm trying to convince to play D&D. He's like, I don't know if I really be into it, Now, let me tell you why I say this same friend would probably enjoy playing D&D, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He also likes Hunter x Hunter. And so being the Hunter x Hunter nerds that we both are, we have each developed our own, like, you take the little personality quizzes and get what your Nen type would be. Okay, so once we got our Nen type, we actually sat down and developed what we would do with that Nen type, as in like, okay, so this is my power that I have. It's called XYZ, and this is what I have to do in order to have that. And I'm like, dude, we sat here and created a whole imaginary scenario where we've got Nen powers, and we've created ourselves as characters with these powers now. You would love D&D. So now
you've done half the work already.
That's what I'm saying.
You've half the work is character creation. It's like boom.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think that's one of the coolest things about D&D is that it can be played in literally any setting. And I think that's something that people don't get. They think that it's just like Lord of the Rings settings, and stuff like that. Like there has to be a dungeon and there has to be dragons. Like I've played the year-long campaign that I ran was actually a Star Wars based campaign. We had Jedi running around, Jedi and Sith, and using the Force and all sorts of stuff. You can play pirate campaigns. Like literally, if they can make a movie about it, you can play a D&D game about it. Yeah, as far as settings go,
That's
so
cool.
yeah, like literally you could run a Hunter x Hunter one shot or a Hunter x Hunter campaign. You probably have to tweak the rules a little bit, but you could do it. Yeah.
So what you're saying is we should write one? Is that what you're saying? Look at you getting all nervous.
You're putting it together in your mind now. I love it.
I'm saying it's possible. Yeah, for sure.
I had looked at. There was a book that came out. It was probably a couple years ago, but it was like a tabletop RPG of Power Rangers. Like I have that one right now. I gotta read up on it, but like everybody has their own skill sets, and you get to choose kind of what your personality and your traits are to choose it from there. So that's really cool. Like Brandon was saying, there's always an opportunity to kind of do that, and and if anybody's a gamer, there's a lot of games that everybody plays that are simply like just on the same kind of basis of like what I've known about D&D or any kind of RPG. Like if you think of even like the God of War games, like if you think of The Witcher, which the new season just came out for that one. If you think of anything like that where you're taking turns and you have to strategize on how to do things and you're going from one place to another, that's the same basis of what you got with D&D.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't say it better myself.
So, you started playing when you were 16, because this girl that you like, you were trying to impress her dad, and y'all broke up. I'm sorry, I said I was changed. I said I was going to be the good guy. I got to take it back.
You're not the good guy right now.
I just like to mess with people. I promise you, I'm really not. I'm just silly most of the time, and somebody took me too seriously before. I'm just silly like that. Okay, I can't help it.
Oh, all right, it's all good.
But you started at 16 playing D&D and things like that. How long did you play before you started DMing?
Not long, actually. Yeah, I've always been a storyteller. Like I like writing stories and stuff like that. Since I was little. So that the story aspect of D&D, is what hit me immediately. So the group that I was with, these older guys that I was playing with, it was a small group. There were 3 of them. And basically they had what's called a forever DM, which is the guy who's constantly running games and never gets to play, right? And so after playing with them for a couple of months, as soon as I kind of showed a little bit of interest in DMing, immediately he kind of took me under his wing. He was like, "I'll show you how to DM, so that way I can play." So I ran a couple of games. Again, as far as settings go, I was younger at this point, so all of my games were based off of like video games I was playing. So I ran a BioShock themed D&D game, which was pretty interesting. It took place in Rapture, and they had to fight Andrew Ryan at the end and everything. That was pretty crazy. And then that's what led me into the Star Wars game, which was I think the second or third game that I ever ran. So I'd only been playing for maybe about like 6-8 months before I started running my first game. But you learn so much more about the game building it and running a game, than you do playing. Playing is so much more of a chill experience because you get to show up and just have fun and enjoy it. As a DM, you kind of have to craft everything around it, everything around the players and like create the world, which is fun for me, but it's also like a little bit more challenging,
What's the craziest experience that you've had in D&D?
Ooh, there's so many. The craziest experience I've had in D&D. Like now, like when you say crazy experience, just like
whatever comes to mind, bro. There's no limits.
Can I drop one in while he's thinking about his from years and years of experience and my very limited amount of times playing? I rode a T-Rex one time. The DM brought a T-Rex into it. We were at some place, and he said, "There's a T-Rex walking around." And the race, I think that's the correct term. The race that I was playing had some ability where they could talk to animals, but you had to be touching them. We were currently in the trees hiding from the T-Rex, and so I jumped out of the tree and landed on the T-Rex's back, rolled a perfect 20, and got to land on the T-Rex's back. It was an amazing experience. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
How long did you ride that T-Rex?
Long enough to talk to him, see where he was from and things like that. He really didn't understand a whole lot because I think it threw the DM for a loop that I decided to do that. but it was still an interesting experience.
See,
Yeah.
that's another thing that I love about this game because like I've been playing for so long, I've never ridden a T-Rex.
Oh man, sweet.
So like, you know, let me add that to my D&D bucket list real quick. Okay, so in kind of that same vein, this was a super awesome moment. I was running a game. Basically, my players were fighting. I forget what his name was, but he was the god of the hunt, right? And it was the avatar for the god of the hunt. Basically, he had this cult, and the cult was killing all of the inhabitants and all of the creatures in this magical fey forest, right? And they were tainting this pool, this spring that gave everything life. They were tainting the spring with all of the spoils of the things that they would kill as an offering to this god, so that they could summon his avatar, right?
Gotcha.
And so the players had to defeat the cult, and so they spend a couple of games fighting the cult. Everything but they ultimately fail. The ritual is complete. The spring turns into this filthy bog full of corpses and blood and stuff, and this whirlpool starts to spin around, and this huge goat-headed god comes rising out of this muck. He's got a ragged rusted sword in a big bloody shield, god of the hunt, right? So the players now have to fight this guy. One of my players was playing this character named Amelia. She was a paladin, right? And she had a hammer. She was a dragonborn paladin. Dragonborns, they can like sprout wings and stuff and fly. So she's all up in this thing's face, fighting it and everything like that. Long story short, she ends up going down. I swipe at her one good time, bow, knock her down into the ground, so she drops to 0 hit points, falls into the water, starts drowning. The way the game works is you have to make death saves when you drop to 0. Obviously, if you're drowning, you automatically fail your death saves. So so you get 3. So 2 death saves are failed. One from getting hit, knocked to 0, falling into the water. Second, a round goes by, she's drowning, right? So you have one save left. She rolls the dice and natural 20s, right?
All right.
So when you natural 20 on a death save, not only do you stabilize, you resuscitate with 1 hit point, right? So she comes back to life, sprouts her wings, grabs her hammer. If you can see, like, just like revives herself, comes back up from out of this muck, flies up, smashes the god with the hammer, smites it, and does enough damage to take it out in the last turn. Like,
oh man,
yeah. Stuff like that, you can't even write a better ending to a story, like literally coming from the brink of death to like finishing off the big bad evil guy. So that was probably one of the most epic moments in a game that I've ran that I can remember.
Cool.
I want to say something about that. Listening to you describe that shows me like one of the important things of truly being able to appreciate and enjoy D&D, and that's the element to like visualize things in your mind as someone tells the story and describes the scene for you, because the whole time I'm sure that Wyatt had his own view of what Amelia looked like. I had my own view of what Amelia looked like with the pieces that you gave and things like that. And I think sometimes that's hard for people to do, is to like go back to that almost childish like
imagination.
Like just get into it, man. SpongeBob with the rainbow, imagination, man. Enjoy it, because I'm thinking like, dang, well, Amelia went off on it, way to go, and I think that's something that kind of scares and pushes some people away from it. They know that it has to do with imagination, and I think that for some reason it kind of intimidates them to kind of jump into that, when it's like, don't be afraid,
And that's totally true. Like, it goes back to like having a group of people that you feel comfortable with, right? Because it is your inner child, having a group of people that you can trust enough to let your inner child out to play, and that will play along with you,
right?
And not shoot down your ideas or anything like that. Like, it's supposed to be a collaborative storytelling effort. you know, in improv they call it yes anding, right? Like you never shoot down an idea. It's like yes, and you build onto it, you know, and that creates some of the most memorable moments at the table or on the Zoom call or however you decide to play now, you know.
So with the pandemic, how did it affect how you guys play? Like, did you
Yeah.
normally get together, or now do you guys just do more through Zoom, or what? How's
That
that
is a
go?
great question. Yeah. During the pandemic, it was interesting because so obviously playing as a teenager, you know, we would all meet up together, play at the table, physically roll the dice, and you know, we would have our character sheets and stuff. Um, then you know, the pandemic hits and everything, and it was such a different thing from when I started working with Ink and Liar, because theirs was 100%. I mean, obviously we streamed, but there was 100% like remote. Like we literally had a player in Vegas playing with us. Most of us were in Huntsville, and you know, so there's pros and cons to both, right? Obviously, you can't. The energy in the room is unmatched. You know,
Yeah.
being around the table and you know being able to physically roll the dice and like you know see the rolls and interact with people and you know in that physical sense, you know, can't be beat. I still think that's like the most purest way to play D&D, is like, you know, having the friends at the table. But Zoom and, you know, stuff like Roll20 and Tailspire is another thing that we use, which creates like these awesome 3D map environments and stuff. Like like the
We didn't
pandemic
get no
has made
3D
it
map when we played Wyatt.
No,
right.
we got a straight map, bro. We
It
got
was like
something on the ground and we
2D.
moved. That was it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you can you can check out some of Ink and Liar streams and you can see like you can some amazing people create these beautiful maps, and like there are these tokens. There's a site called Hero Forge where you can create these digital like game pieces basically, you know, and move them around through these environments. One of the games we did Spelljammer, the last one of the most recent campaigns, it was like a space pirates, right? And so we actually created our little minis and brought them into the game, into the world map and everything, and got to like move our characters around and everything. And so it kind of blurs the line between like video game and tabletop game, you know, but it still definitely has that tabletop feel as far as, you know, I do this and I do that. So having those extra I guess having that extra software, those extra tools, you know, definitely helps bring it to life. You don't necessarily have to rely on theater of the mind as much, you know, because you see it, you know, and it's there. So I think it really all comes down to flavor at the end of the day. Like obviously being able to play with people, like, you know, like I said, as far as we had people in, you know, across the pond over in Europe playing with us, like, which is an experience that you can never have. You know, I mean, I guess you could if they flew in, but you know, like on a consistent basis, pretty cool.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
so
it is cool.
and I'm sure it makes it easier to like actually find groups and you know, schedule things and plan things out. You know, it's easier to just sit in front of a monitor and play than to like drive somewhere and go. So yeah, well, I think there's pros and cons to both. I love the fact that you know, virtual tabletop exists. You know, it makes it a lot easier to connect. I've moved since I've been playing with my Ink and Liar people, so you know, after moving, you know, back here to Birmingham, you know, still being able to play with them is great, and stuff. But obviously, being at the table is, I think everybody should try it at least once, playing at the table. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
What do you think are the qualities of a good DM? And I asked that because so I played some you know, I played, like I said, we played the game with Wyatt and the other members of the syndicate. It was a one-shot campaign. I played a campaign with my sister where she was kind of DMing. That was cool. And then we started a campaign with this DM who it was supposed to be a longer campaign, but we kind of stopped. So I'll, you know, talk about why we stopped after you tell me what do you think the qualities are of a good DM, and I just want to make sure that we're not tripping.
It's a great question, by the way.
Thank you.
Qualities of a good DM. Okay. I would say some like concrete hard qualities are like, obviously you need somebody who's willing to like do the research and the work to like build a good game. They need at least they need at least a little bit of charisma to be able to, like, narrate and tell the story and stuff like that. There's also those intangible things too, though, right? Like, they need to be able to I guess improv is a huge thing. Like, I'll use myself as an example. Obviously playing with pretty much veterans in the game when I first jumped in, DMing my first game for these guys. They put me through it, man, because they knew infinitely more about the game than I did, So, like, it was really kind of difficult for me to DM them in a way. So, but what I learned was, like, find the fun, follow the fun, even if it, like, mechanics and stuff are all in service of the story. Does that make sense? Like, if you want to leap, and this goes back to the whole theater of the mind versus, like, playing like on a virtual environment thing, right? If you want to jump across the balcony or jump across the chasm or whatever, and it's like 15 feet across, right? Blah 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 blah, right? Like, but you only jumped 5 feet. It's like, if you're a good DM, get that man that extra 5 feet, let him be epic and get across you know what I mean? Because, like, I look at it like a movie, right? It's not fun if the character falls to his death and dies. Like, if you're gonna do it epically. If a character's gonna die, make it memorable. If a character is gonna kill, like, the big bad guy or something, make it epic. If a character is gonna risk something, right? Like, if he's gonna leap across the chasm and everything, you give your players every opportunity to succeed, right? Because at the end of the day, even if you're playing a villain, as the DM, you want them to win because they're the main characters. So now don't fudge roles and don't lie, like, don't BS it, but, like, role play it out. Like, okay, you leap across this thing, your first roll might have been a failure, instead of just killing them, it's like, okay, now it turns into a climbing check, right? Now roll to see how far down you fall before you grab onto the edge. You're not gonna die. This isn't where your story ends,
Okay.
You grab onto the edge, yes, now you're hanging 20 feet down. The rest of the party looks over, somebody yells, "Dumbass!" and the game continues. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you have to know how to improv and how to, like, when your players do something you don't expect, when they fail when they're not supposed to, or when they go left when they're supposed to go right, when they succeed when they should have failed. Like, you have to know how to tweak your story and tweak your game to where it stays epic, it stays fun.
This DM we play like three campaigns with him, okay? And by the third campaign, it just kind of, it felt boring. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like a
okay.
It was kind of like we were trying to find out which way to go. We couldn't figure out which way to go, and I think that our choices threw him off so much that he had a hard time directing us back to I guess the main theme of this story he had prepared and things like that. But it just really got bored. Like, I thought I was tripping, and then, like, these are my siblings, so of course we had a sidebar text going on, like, hey,
oh no.
Man, my brother legit fell asleep during the campaign.
Bro, as a DM, when the phones come out at the table, that is the worst, bro. Because then you lose them,
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I've been there. You have to know how to motivate your players. You have to know what motivates them. And don't be afraid to, some people call it railroading, but don't be afraid to, like, push the plot to the players if the players aren't going to the plot. Like, if you were, if the bad guy was supposed to be behind door number 1, but they go behind door number 2, as the DM, you can move the bad guy to door number 2. You know what I mean? So, that's something that could have been done. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. One way to mitigate, like, feeling boring and stuff in the middle of a campaign, because that has happened before, and it does happen sometimes, is a good thing to do is what's called a session 0, which is where the DM and the players all kind of get together and they go, okay, what kind of story do we want to tell here, right? Like, is this a mystery? Is this like an epic fantasy campaign? Is this a horror campaign? You know, is this a romance campaign? You know, like what are we doing? What can we expect out of this game? You know, what sort of characters are you guys gonna build? And you know, what sort of story arcs do you want to tell? You know, is this like a shonen anime coming of age kind of story, right? Like, or is this going to be one of those Lion King, Macbeth kind of things where, you know, you have to come back and take the throne? Is this, you know, do you want to tell a story of vengeance, you know? And let's kind of, you know, it's to get everybody on the same page, right? Before the campaign starts. Session 0s are super important, less so for one shots, but if you're going to be telling like a long campaign, like you know, multiple episodes and multiple stories, you know, it's important that everybody kind of knows, you know, you can talk about like, you know, what kind of content is on and off limits, you know, like because it is a fantasy world, you know, like you know, violence can sometimes trigger people, you know what I mean, like, you know, sex in D&D can sometimes trigger people. You know, these are the things that you would talk about, you know, at the table for like a session 0, you know, like what kind of a game are we telling, you know?
That's so cool. Like, do you have a favorite type of game to tell? Like, do you have a personal favorite?
Nah. Well, I like running horror games. I like running horror games because they're a bit of a challenge. But it's fun to try to scare people when they know that they're coming in to be scared, you know. So if I can do that, if at the end of the game they're like, dude, you got me, I'm like, yes, you know.
All right.
I do this. You know.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool. So
go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Leveling up, like, you know, you got multiple campaigns. I'm still thinking about this DM that we had.
Ain't you mad?
You know, we got how fast are characters supposed to level up? Because sometimes it felt like he was a little loosey goosey with the XP.
Let me ask you this: what level did you guys start at? Level 1?
We started at level 1.
Mm-hmm. Okay, level 1 is not the fun level. Level 1.
So that's why he was trying to get us past level 1.
Yes, level 1, you are a commoner. Level 1, you are basically an NPC.
Okay, I'm just trying to see. You know, I'm trying to get understanding.
Yeah, no, and I'm not going to front. Level 1 and 2, those are the boring levels because you don't. I think the game's kind of designed that way. Like for pretty much all of the classes, you don't pick your subclass. Like you don't pick your specialty until level 3, and that's when your things kind of open up. So the first 2 levels, yeah, they are, I guess, quote unquote, the boring levels, but you know, it can be essential for like, you know, setting up world building and stuff like that. That doesn't mean that like they have to be like narratively storytelling boring. It's just there's not as much that you can do.
You're just slashing. You're just like slashing and just getting by stuff.
Exactly. And I mean, as far as giving it more time, I mean, like it depends. Like why was the story boring? Like, did you want more action in it? You know.
We had decent action at the beginning in the first story. The second story, it was kind of more of like a puzzle type of deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, puzzles can be hard.
That was cool. I feel like we figured out the puzzle pretty well and got through that one. In the third one, he was taking us through this thing, and it was this weird situation where my sister was a rogue, and somehow the story had something to do with her getting a letter that none of us were privy to. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we all spent a good deal of time trying to get the letter to see what it was about. And, needless to say, after you know, one of us pickpocketed her with a really good roll and a high dexterity.
Oh my goodness.
We got a hold of the letter. She says that it was our fault for throwing it off, but you know, I don't know.
That's okay. I mean, I need context here. About how long did you spend trying to read this letter? Was it longer than 30 minutes?
No. It wasn't longer than 30 minutes. No, it was maybe 10, 15 minutes max. Because you know, each one of us had our own shot at trying to get it. and my sister-in-law, who was what was her class? What was her class? I don't know what she was, but she had something. She was something with high dexterity, and her roll plus her dexterity, got her enough to be able to steal the letter.
Well, you're laughing about it. Sounds like y'all had a good time trying to steal this letter. What was the boring part?
I think it was his storytelling. It kind of, I don't know. I'm gonna have to get with my siblings again because this is probably like a year or so ago. I'm gonna talk to them and see what was it. But all of us were just kind of like, I'm not feeling this guy too much.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta, you know what they say. Sometimes you gotta let them cook, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can dig it.
Especially at those earlier levels. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta let the story cook for a minute.
Maybe that's what it was, because we got something where we met like these characters that were almost like the same as us a little bit, and we couldn't fight them though because they were, way too strong for us. Although we did engage them. Yeah, like one of the characters' dads came, and his dad brought his crew, and his crew looked just like all of us. They were like supposed to be our, negatives
rivals,
or whatever, and all of this stuff, doppelgangers and all of this stuff. And when we tried to fight them, it was kind of like, no, y'all can't fight them.
Was this was like one of the first encounters in the game?
This was probably our like the second or third campaign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it was the second campaign, because the third campaign we were in like some hotel, the haunted, spooky type of joint. Yeah, it was a lot.
Well, I guess the last thing I'll say is like, feel free to talk to your DM about stuff.
Okay.
Like if the game's not going, because it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Gotcha.
Think about it like a TV show, right? You don't if one or two bad episodes out of a 20-something episode season, it doesn't mean you stop watching the whole season.
Gotcha.
Especially because it's collaborative storytelling. If after a session, if a session didn't go the way you planned it, or if there's something that you like, if there's something that you didn't like, or something that you did like, have those conversations in between the games. I love talking about players. What do you guys want to do next? Throw something at me, because we're telling this story together, right? So yeah, if you find yourself like kind of twiddling your thumbs at the table, or God forbid pulling out your phone, like feel free to talk to the DM, and hopefully the DM will put his ego away and listen, and actually like tweak the story to serve the players. Because if you're not having fun at the table, what's the point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
What are some like do's and don'ts, or like some like etiquette stuff? Like you mentioned pulling your phones out. Like, what are some etiquette things that like just aren't good table manners when you're playing?
If you're immersion is a huge thing. Paying attention. Like I said, having your phone out, or like even like having side conversations, like trying to distract, distract. I'm not saying like pretend the real world doesn't exist or whatever, but like if you're in it, be in it. Try not to pull away from the focus of the game, obviously. And at the same time, understand that it's about everyone at the table and not all about you, right? Like some people come to the table and they have a main character syndrome. And they think that they're Goku, and all the Z fighters can go sit down somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm in Ultra Instinct, Yeah, I got this, especially if you have like multiple people telling a story, just because the spotlight isn't on you, like don't check out completely, engage, find ways to engage and stuff. Obviously, and this is an easy one, like don't BS your roles, because what are you doing then?
Don't be a who?
Don't
BS your roles, like rolling
the
dice.
Yeah.
Especially with the rise of playing online and stuff, where you can't really see things like that, like part of playing the game is failing epically, and people get into sometimes you just have bad game, you have bad roles, your player had your character had an off day. These things happen, so you just got to lean into it. Um, yeah, not too many rules as far as etiquette goes. You know, just have fun. Don't speak over other people. You know, just simple stuff.
Out of those etiquette rules that you laid out, I can see it getting boring being a 50-50 responsibility on the players as well as the DM.
Yep.
I'm honest enough to admit that, because I don't know if all of us were as fully immersed as we should have been, and I can see how that can take away from it.
Yeah, you know, and it's just one of those things. You know, like you have to be okay to, like, you know, step back, regroup, and be like, hey, what are we doing? You know, are we having fun? Do we need to start a new campaign? Do we need to continue this one? Like, what's going on? Because writing a game is hard. Yeah, you know, it takes hours to, you know, to try to figure out, like, especially if you're new. Book games help, obviously. You can, you know, you can find all sorts of pre-made games. There's homebrew stuff online. There's, you know, official stuff that you can find, source books and everything. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like, players create their character, and that's it. Dungeon masters have to worry about every other character that you interact with, every other villain that you interact with. You know, whether you go left or right, something has to be there. The DM has to put those things there. You know, like, literally, as you guys are walking around, we have to, like, drop everything in the world around you. And so if that amount of energy is going to be put into it, you know, as a DM, you also have to be humble enough to be like, do you guys like this? You know, like, am I, you know, if I'm gonna make it, you know, I want everybody to have fun and play, you know. Yeah.
So we talked about, like, the fun parts of it, like, and with any hobby, like, there's sometimes cost associated with it. So as far as, like, D&D, is this like an expensive hobby? Is this something that can be really cheap? Like, what's your experience been on that one?
Super low barrier to entry. You could play for free, honestly, especially nowadays. You can literally go to Google and Google dice roller, and it has all the dice in there for you. There are all of the source books you can find free versions of online. Obviously, you know, support your local artists and content creators and everything like that if it's something that you really rad with. But there's also plenty of you know, free games that are just out there. You know, the rules are free, you know, so you can learn how to, you know, you can learn how to play. If you want to play in person, you know, go to the store, you know, $5.99, get you some dice. You know, I think like $40 for a source book if you want to play, like, in real life. But obviously, you know, you can find a PDF version that's probably cheaper than that. If you want to get minis, you can, but you don't have to. You know, I think it's really all about, like, how immersive do you want to get into it? You know, like, I've played with people who've had setups. They've got the whole dungeon master table, you know, with the DM screen up, mood lighting, you know, for different encounters and stuff. You know, they've got, you know, they play battle music and you know, and stuff through their surround sound speakers to, like, really immerse you in. So you could totally go that route, you know, if you want to. But you don't, you know, if you just want to get your feet wet, get a group of folks together, sit down and come up with a game. You know, you can download a character creation app and a dice roller app on your cell phone and just play like that, you know, for your first go round if you want to. You don't have to invest a whole lot of money into it to play. Like, super low barrier to entry, but you can spend as much as you want to, you know, the further into it you get.
Yeah, I saw, what's his name, Joe Manganiello? Is that the guy from that he played Slade Wilson and
Yes. Okay. Yeah. In Arrow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, he played it in the Batman vs Superman, where he was he was on Magic Mike. That's the only other thing I know him from it.
Oh, that guy. Okay. Yeah.
He bought a table. He said that was like a $50,000 table, like, because he's so big into D&D, where it's crazy, bro. Yeah. So like you said, I know that there's high end stuff, but then there's also stuff where you can be able to just kick it and just, I know, free versions of stuff. I know with D&D, I mean, with Roll20 that we played with, they had, like, the apps for the rollers and all the rest of that stuff. So it was really cool to see something like that too.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quick, like that's credence to like just the Dungeons and Dragons community in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't know if you guys are privy to it, but there was a whole thing about like game licenses that came out. Basically, like, I won't bore you with the details, but long story short, Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, and Hasbro was trying to put the kibosh on like user created content and stuff.
Oh.
And the community like rallied together on Twitter and was like, get that out of here. Like we not messing with that. And they ended up walking it back. So yeah, the community in itself, like I know I've lamented about how hard it is to like find a group to play with and stuff, but like, man, if you can get in, like there's so much content, everyone's so cool, like it's such a welcoming environment. Anything that you want to do, just like go to Twitter and just like ask, and people will send you stuff. Reddit, there's a huge D&D community on Reddit with just like people just creating free content, like, hey, I created this setting, play in it. Hey, I created this magic item, use it in your game. Hey, I created this NPC, use it in your game. Like there's so much stuff like free, like, so where you can get garner inspiration, like I said, imagination, right? Like, when everybody's in on it, man, it creates such a huge and varied catalog of content for you to like dive into. Literally, like I said before, any sort of game that you can think about, you can play in D&D.
Sweet.
Yeah, dope. So shout out to the community, man. Y'all are awesome.
All right, well, young elder, you got anything else to ask? Any other questions, concerns, comments, emotional outbursts?
No.
Personal questions? We need
No
to
more.
edit out.
No more. I think I asked all of them that I had. It's been a fantastic and enlightening conversation. I really enjoyed this. Yeah.
I'm really excited on possibly just getting together with you, man, and doing a one shot or even something longer, because like you said, it's great to be able to have someone like a person of color be able to tell a story like this that may, like, you know what I mean, we may do something that's a little bit different, and it's just great to have something. Huh?
I do have one more.
You do have one more. What's going on?
Have you been a part of an all-black campaign?
An all-black campaign? No, I have yet to do that. Not an all-black campaign.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
That was my last question. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, like I said, it's always great, and I love, and I can tell that you're super passionate about it, and that's the one thing that, like, race, creed, or color. Like, if you're passionate about what you like to do, you're passionate about those things, like, definitely I want to salute you from there, because, man, it's great to be able to have that opportunity to talk to somebody who, I don't know all this stuff, and it's great to be able to possibly learn, play with you, man, and become good friends with you as well, because like we're here at the Blerd Syndicate. I like to just always make sure that wherever you're coming from, you're able to share your passions, and then like this is an opportunity that you gave us to share that with us, and I just want to say thank you for it.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for inviting me onto this platform, man. Like, I appreciate. Oh, we didn't tell the story.
Okay,
you're supposed to tell the story. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, right, how this whole thing even happened. So I mentioned a little bit earlier. My cousin and I are doing a podcast called Stardust and Dragons, and we're basically, I was like looking for local people, looking for like guest spots, promo opportunities, stuff like that. So I'm on Facebook, just like joining local D&D groups and stuff. I think the one we saw was Central Alabama, Dungeons and Dragons, something like that. Yeah. So
I want to tell my story with that.
So
from the other side.
So I join up, right? A couple days later, I get the thing, admin is approved. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm at work. I'm just scrolling. Literally, the first post that I see when I scroll up there was like, hey, we're looking for Black Dungeon Masters. Does anybody want to apply? I'm like, I'm a Black Dungeon Master. So immediately I'm like, I don't want this post to get lost in the sauce. So immediately shoot a DM out. I think I said, hey, I just wanted to, I exist, we're gonna talk soon, I promise, and stuff. And it just kind of went from there. But it was just crazy how like literally like the very first post, on there was like,
man.
here we are. Yeah.
That's the Holy Spirit. That's how it works. Because let me tell you, I'm 100% certain the post didn't say Black Dungeon Master, because they deleted my post that said Black Dungeon Master and sent me a private message saying you can't discriminate in asking for your dungeon master. And I had to talk to the boss about how to properly express what I look. Wyatt, thank you. You know, normally I'm okay with being able to converse, but you know, sometimes things just enrage me and I just don't even know how to use words correctly anymore. And you know, I know how to be diplomatic most of the time, but in that situation I was very offended. Like, man, it wasn't about being discriminatory. We are actually trying to talk about a specific thing. Like, I mean, we didn't really get into it because we just got into the generals of, you know, D&D, but like, I mean, the idea that there are spaces where, yes, you have Black people that participate in them, but it's not very many. You know, it's not a whole lot of Black people that participate in them. You've been playing D&D since you were 16. You know, you've been playing D&D literally half of your life, and you've never been in a campaign with all Black people.
Never.
Majority Black people.
50-50.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying?
That's as close as it's gotten. Yeah.
You know?
No, absolutely. And you know, that's part of the reason why my cousin and I wanted to, like, you know, get together and kind of do our own thing, is because, you know, and I wish he was here because he'll tell you, you know, like, one of the things he always says is, I want to see a Black dude, like, you know, I want to see stories about a Black guy go to space or fighting a dragon, you know, or, you know, doing stuff like, you know, doing stuff like that. Like, our stories don't have to be about, you know, slavery and drugs the whole time, you know, or prison, you know, like, you know, we can shoot lightning, you know, we can ride T-Rexes, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we can do that sort of stuff. And it's something that you don't realize, because like, because like you said, half my life I was playing D&D for a very long time, you know, in my formative years, before I realized, like, the Black folks around here, you know, like, you know, it's me and that guy, and that's it. You know, and you know, you don't realize it, because again, like, and that's, you know, absolutely no shade on the community, like, it's not like it's exclusive, but it's like there, you know, that intentionality about like having more faces like ours in this space, you know. And that's why, you know, I love you know, the fact that you guys had me on is like, because we out here, you know, and a lot of that, and a lot of times all it takes is, you know, joining that Facebook group and seeing a post, or, you know, just reaching a hand out, just seeing what's out there, you know. And then you get connections like this, and it's like, yeah, you know, we go get that all Black campaign. You know? Man,
let me tell you, I made the post that said Black DM. They deleted it and sent me a message saying that you can't make discriminatory requests for DMs. You know, you can't discriminate about who you looking for in your DM. So I made a general post that just said, now it did say Blerd Syndicate in it, you know, which is why you probably connect the dots. I was like, some Black person is gonna.
I knew what you was talking about.
And know what I'm looking for, because it was a lady, it was a Black lady before you responded that had sent me a message. And when I reached back out to her, she didn't say anything else. So I was like, man, that's probably a spy or something. She probably doesn't care about what I'm talking about. And then, I was like, look at God. It sent us somebody that know what they doing and everything. So, man, I'm so glad you reached out, for real. Because it wasn't about excluding people. Like, it really wasn't. It was really just on some, let's do something different, you know, or let's do something that is not gonna, that doesn't happen that often, you know. We can throw a rock in that group and find 20 people willing to DM a group for us, a group of Black players, but how many of them gonna be the Black DM as well?
Right.
So my thing is, like, I didn't want it to be something where, like, if we have like a white DM and somebody be like nigga, and then they'd be like,
right.
Hey, listen, so, not that. You know. So I wanted to be like our own selves and not have to worry about
not have to like, you know, censor or, you know what I'm saying.
No, that makes it. You got a bunch of PC and PCs.
You can't. You just want to be able to be yourself and not have to worry about, like, oh, okay, well, if I say it this way, I got to change it to say it that way. If you want to be like, bitch, you messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody understands, because that's the way we talk. Certain times are different than necessarily how we talk in other circles. So
Somebody that knows the code switch,
Yeah.
man. Somebody that
Yeah.
knows, because if I say I slapped that nigga, the DM be like, man, he slapped that nigga.
Yeah.
Exactly. The DM got to be able to say nigga too.
Right.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you slapped the shit out of him. Yep. So
I mean, but sweet.
No,
I'm
yeah.
so glad you reached out though, man. That was awesome. It really was like a look at the Lord that just.
That's it, man. Yeah. Nah, and I'm definitely looking forward. We've been talking about like running this one shot, maybe a campaign later on. It's gonna happen.
Sweet.
And I'm down. I went to Timo, already bought some dollar dice. I'm already set.
There we go. Perfect.
Well, I won some dice on the quiz show that I still use, so
There you go.
Okay.
That was
So y'all gonna be using y'all's physical dice then?
No, I'm gonna probably go D&D Beyond. Wait,
Nah,
your
we'll
one
say-
shot, you already got pre-made characters, right?
Call me yeah, I can whip something up for you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Now call me old fashioned. I am, because I started off playing like they ain't nothing like you can't put karma into no D&D Beyond. You can put karma into your physical dice. You can will that 20 out of those physical dice sometimes,
Yeah.
But yeah, D&D Beyond is that algorithm might just not like you one day.
No.
You
There's times that it
No, you
doesn't.
done fucked up, right?
yeah, right. Yeah.
No, you done fucked up, right?
Like, what was that? What'd you roll?
Okay.
5? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nah.
Let me tell you what happens next.
Ooh.
Be like, I slapped a nigga. Roll for it. Shoot,
Yeah, roll
let's see
for it.
what
Let's see.
happens.
Yeah. Did you?
Yo,
Nah,
you slapped the taste out of his mouth. He don't want no smoke no more. Like
Right.
so yeah, that's great. I know and you're in the Birmingham area, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. I'm in Huntsville, but like it's nothing to try to make a
That's
quick
crazy.
trip.
I was literally in Huntsville for work today.
See?
Yeah.
So we'll make
I'm very familiar with Huntsville. I lived in Huntsville for 5 years. That's
Okay.
where.
Oh, we went to A&M.
yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. I was literally driving past y'all like constantly. It's crazy.
So yeah, we'll make something shake, man. Like I appreciate you being on. We're gonna go ahead and close it out. So for everybody who's still listening, I want y'all to do I want you to be like the Hulk. I want you to smash that follow button, and we're gonna love you 3,000. And until then, we're gonna be like the Ninja Turtles, and we're gonna get the shell out. So until next time, y'all be easy.
Peace.